Hi there, it's me, Teacher Mike from phuketpals.org. Welcome back to another video. Now, if you're finding these videos in any way useful, I mean any way at all, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the little bell. That'll give you notifications, and if your phone's in your pocket, that means we will buzz away in your pocket like a little flying insect or something like that, and that'll really annoy you and give you some help as well. So,
yes, our next talk is about GED resources. And as you all know, the internet is full of stuff, and we try to give you here a little guideline of what kind of homepages and books you can use to prepare and study for your GED tests. So what kind of resources can you think of right away from your head?
Okay, so we can start off with the test prep books.
Yeah.
This is usually, through our YouTube page, people who contact us, or even students who come into our centre here in Phuket in Thailand, they often say which official test prep book should I use, and there are loads of them. You have things like the K-Plan book,
the McGraw-Hill,
the Princeton series.
Yeah.
There are tons of them. There are other ones out there as well. Here at Phuket Pals, we tend to focus more on the McGraw-Hill one.
Most of the time we work with a McGraw. We recommend this to students. I can only speak for the science and the math, but I think it gives short enough overview to give students an idea and fairly good preparation for the GED test in a short amount of time, in just a couple of weeks, and that's what makes that book quite good, I think.
Okay, what I like about it in terms of social studies and in terms of RLA in particular, the social studies part of the McGraw-Hill, is that you get a kind of overview reading part to do, and then you get questions that are that might come up in an exam that are directly related to that information. And the reading itself isn't that important, but it gives a kind of overlay of that subject area. But it's familiarizing. Students need to familiarize themselves with questions that are likely to come up.
That's true. Yeah.
In the question, McGraw-Hill does that quite well at the end of
all
each
the
chapter.
chapters are guided with questions and followed up with questions that are in the style of the questions you can find in the test.
Yeah. If you compare the McGraw-Hill to the Princeton book, the Princeton book is. It has even less detail. It's more bird's eye. It's like a bird's eye view of the test.
Okay.
If you go through the social studies, for example, it does tell you what questions to expect, but it doesn't give you a lot of them to play with. There are a few free practice tests in there as well, but I just find the book is it's just not as well put together as the McGraw-Hill, and I find that the McGraw-Hill questions just seem that little bit more testing, I think, than the Princeton ones. But both are approved by GED Testing Service. So.
Yeah, I think this is compared to IGCSE preparation, for example, where you have all these official past papers released, hundreds of them from the past 20 years. It's very easy to get used to what the questions will look like on the test, and I think this is something which is not too easy to find for GED. For sure, you find loads of questions online to prepare for the test, but I think the quality of these questions vary drastically from source to source, and many of them are not at all like the questions are actually on the test. And using all these different resources over the years, I found that the McGraw-Hill book comes very close to what the actual questions on the test might look like.
Okay. And of course, if the students out there want to get a real feel for what it's all about, they need to do the GED Ready test, which you get at GED.com. We should be doing affiliate marketing for these things. But anyway, at GED.com there's something called GED Ready. Now, GED Ready is built by GED Testing Service, so you pay, I think it's $4 per test.
4-6, I think.
4-6, yes. It's relatively inexpensive, but it depends on your budget. You don't want to be doing this 3 times a week, but I think once students do the prep through something like McGraw-Hill, perhaps using a tutor, using lots and lots of random questions from online. They have a good idea what to expect.
Yes.
And then when they do the GED Ready test, it kind of it smooths over any edges that they might have. And
I can just recommend the GED Ready to anyone who plans to take the GED test, no matter how well prepared, because the GED Ready gives you a very, very, very good idea of how the real test looks like. Not only the question styles, but the interface on your computer screen as well.
It's important.
That you know your way around the questions. You can save a couple of minutes that might help you out in the end to answer that last question.
Yeah.
And it's exactly the interface you will find on the GED test.
I think that's very important. Knowing that interface is really important, because it's very different to any interface you'll have used before. Especially getting to know that calculator that's on the maths test and the social studies test.
The science test.
And the science test, because there's so many students who, prep at home, and then they're just using their own home calculator. Then they go to the real exam centre, like we have here at phuketpals, at Pearson VUE, and then they say, you're not bringing your calculator in.
Yes.
Like, well, what? And they say, there's one on the computer. And they get onto the computer and they've never used it before. It's very different, and then they panic.
You have to find it, and somewhere in the corner it says calculator. And if you don't know, for the math test, in the same corner you have your formula sheet. So knowing all these things in advance by doing the GED Ready definitely will help you out in the real test.
Absolutely, and it's the GED itself. All of the tests are very time pressured. I know, like I can only really speak because I only teach the RLA and the social studies, but both of these are a nightmare for time, especially the RLA. There's so much reading to do.
Science as well.
Same thing.
It's a lot of reading,
And
if you wouldn't think, but it is.
And if you haven't kind of prepped yourself with the GED Ready interface beforehand, you're gonna labour over questions a lot more than you would have. So get yourself a GED Ready test. When I wouldn't do it at the start, but I would do it probably a few weeks before you're going to take the real test.
Beforehand, I agree.
Another good thing about the GED Ready test is if you've prepped with a tutor or if you've self-prepped, then you take a GED Ready test. It will then tell you the skill areas where you're still lacking. So it gives you a scale from 100 to 200. It's still a mystery to me why GED testing servers don't go 0 to 100. But
nobody knows.
It's a dark and mysterious world. Anyway, they go from 100 to 200, and when you finish your GED Ready, you get your place on that scale. So maybe you're 145, so you're already at a diploma pass, but perhaps you need a 165 for college in the US. Yeah. So you can actually look up the skill areas for each individual test, which is cool, and that it might tell you that for RLA, for example, that you are weak in determining main ideas or the writer's main ideas in paragraphs. So you can just go away and focus on that one skill and hammer it continuously until you improve in that area.
Yeah,
it's quite cool.
What resources can you recommend for students that are further away from taking the test? I mean, now we have mainly talked about the final weeks of studying, but what if a student still has a year or so to go? What kind of resources can you recommend?
Obviously, I'd recommend the phuketpals GED program, which runs Monday to Friday,
definitely
10 o'clock to 3:30. We both have been in it, we both set this up. We know the quality it provides, the value that it provides for people, and if you have that time to dedicate Monday to Friday, the phuketpals GED program is the place to do it if you have a year. If you don't have a year and you're further from the test, if you find you're looking up past paper resources online and it's just a bit too hard, you can turn to books like this, the Contemporary series. Okay, so things like contemporaries, you can get this in online, get through Amazon. Pre-GED social studies, there's also pre-GED science, there's pre-GED for all the subjects.
Yeah.
The reading comprehension is a little bit easier. The questions are similar to what you get in the test, but they're a little bit simplified. But it gives you, for students who are not quite as confident yet, it gives them a nice step up to that level that's required for the real test. So I would recommend the Contemporary series.
Yeah.
What about you?
I definitely can recommend, we can recommend some home pages to use to prepare for the test. we already said so many times that your reading comprehension skills are a key point that you have to improve in and that you have to be very sharp in to be able to pass the test and maybe score a good grade on the test. And we definitely have some amazing resources we can recommend to you today. For example, the Newsella homepage, which is basically a collection of newspaper articles, a vast collection of newspaper articles.
Can you spell it just?
No, I'm not very good at spelling. You go.
So it's News as in news, and then ELA, Newsella. Go ahead.
Yeah, and it's a very dedicated team behind it, I guess. They take the newspaper articles and rewrite them for you on many different types or grade levels of English language. So if you still struggle with reading comprehension, go to Newsella and pick whatever topic you like to read about and choose your level. And besides the newspaper article, you get a small quiz as well that will ask you on different skill areas to analyze a text.
That's it. And there are, in case you're wondering if you have to pay or not, there's a pro version and a free version. Alex mentioned the questions at the end of each article. You only get the answers for those on the pro version. So you really need to do them with a tutor or with a teacher to get effective use of those questions. But if you're looking to use it for free on your own, you can click on the writing. Once you finish the reading, you can click on the activities button and go to the writing section, and that gives you a different writing activity for every article. So some of they're all based on critical thinking questions and all linked to the Common Core. So the writing bit is very, very useful. I think better than the questions themselves.
Okay.
So I always advise students to do the writing every day, the writing question they ask. Another part of let me just explain that a little bit differently. When you click on a news article or an article in the Newsella website, you have the option of modifying the grade level.
Yes.
So you'll see what's called Lexial level or Lexile level, and that's just a fancy way of saying comprehension level. So the higher the comprehension level or Lexile level, the more difficult
is it gonna be
the article will be.
The longer and
the more complex the vocab, etc., and sentence structure and all that stuff. So in the GED test itself, the final diploma test, you're looking at anything between 1,200 Lexial level and 1,000, I think it's 400 or 500 Lexial level. So when you go onto the Newsella page, you'll see when you click on grade 12 of the options, it's usually around 1,200 plus.
Yeah.
So you need to, if you find you're clicking on the grade 12 reading and it's too hard, you need to knock it down to grade maybe 8 or 10 and build yourself up. And you know then once you've built up to that grade 12 level that you're getting close to a reading comprehension level that will get you a good score
in the GED.
In the GED test. And if I can follow on again, another cool section of the Newsella website is something called, what's it called again? Cultivating close reading skills. Okay, so if you go to Google and you type in Newsella cultivating close reading skills, it brings you to a page with lots of different what are called text sets. You can click on different text sets. One text set might be a group of news articles about the writer's main idea. The next group will be about the writer's purpose. The next group will be about inferring things. So these are the types of reading skills you need to succeed with the Common Core. And let's not forget the Common Core is what the GED test is based on. So if you go into cultivating close reading skills and you practice, let's say you read the article, then do that writing activity, it'll be linked to that skill.
Okay.
It's pretty cool.
That's definitely something I can recommend for the science as well. It's not so much about the writing skills and the text analysis skills, but if you're using Newsella for science, which is not this obvious, I guess, because it's more about reading and improving your English, but there are quite a few science articles on there as well, and there are some really, really amazing text sets on there that give you that have a collection of articles that are all linked to a certain subject. So you could type in ecology, for example, and you will get a selection of 3-4 text sets that all have about 10 to 20 articles maybe, that all are about ecology from different angles and give you an idea about, okay, what is this topic about, what is linked to that topic.
It's exactly the same for social studies, actually, because again, if you go into, as Alex said, text sets, that's TEXTSETS, in case you're struggling with my Northern Irish accent, text sets for social studies or science, or you get them for literature, you can get them for maths as well, like
yes,
readings
math
based on
ones
that.
too. Yeah, that's true.
The ones for social studies are very, very good. You can actually click on text sets and then go to... Is there one for GED specifically?
Oh, I'm not sure about
I
that.
can't remember. It doesn't matter, because when you click on text sets for social studies, you'll see things like the slave trade. You'll see things like, the world post 1945. You'll see things like the cotton gin. All of these things that come up in the GED test. So you can get a really good, not only an overview of these topic areas that come up in the test, but it means you're reading more widely, and there's just a basic correlation between students who read more and who do better on the GED.
Definitely.
Simple.
Yeah.
Okay. Another resource that I would recommend, and I don't know if you use this or not in science, but is called Read Theory.
Mm-hmm.
Read Theory is a free website. Students go in, they log in. They do about 5 or 6 questions as a placement test. Once they do that, they get an individualized program set up by an algorithm.
Right.
In which it will, once you do the 5 or 6 questions, it'll place their reading level according to grade.
Yeah.
Then it gives you an article, and you read that, and then you get about 4 or 5, maybe 6 questions, all linked to common core skills. And then if you get 100%, you move up a grade. If you get less than 60%, I think, you move down a grade, and it changes the level of difficulty, the comprehensibility of the reading
Automatically. It adapts itself to your own skill.
It's really cool.
Sounds amazing, yeah.
And the best thing about it, and this is what I've had success with over the years using Read Theory, is that you can click on there's a little icon inside the website that has a bar graph. You click on it, and it takes you into a graphed version of your own progress. So along the bottom you have numbers of articles read, and then up the side you have grade levels. So it actually plots on a line graph where your reading level is in comparison to grade levels.
Yeah.
So you can visually see you can see your progress in front of you. And some students who are more kind of visual learners, they like that. They react, they get very competitive. Sometimes if they're just doing kind of reading programs on worksheets, it's like, okay, I didn't do so well there. But when that line drops on the graph, there's something clicks, and they go, hold on a minute, I'm going to try a bit harder. So that's really cool.
And
as
up
well.
to what level does Read Theory go?
Grade 12 and above.
Okay.
Yeah. Some of if you go high enough, it gets very, very hard. And it's a very good self-study tool.
So it can help you as well to go up to the level of the GED test.
Yeah, and beyond.
Right.
And beyond. It's really cool, and it's free as well. We actually use it. Our RLA teachers use it in our GED program here at phuketpals. So
in the sciences, I don't use it too much.
No.
Yeah, another resource I definitely can recommend for science that I like to use if it comes not so much to test prep itself directly, but just in learning about science, which is a great free resource, is ck12.org, which is a homepage there where educational material is provided for students by teachers. Teachers creating their own books basically, and there are some